What's last Thursday's date?
Pass it down.
You need these first, Connie?
No, they go to Roger.
Yeah, I think it was a fifth. And I forgot to set up early enough to get mine. That sucks for me. All right, it is 6 o'clock. I will announce the meeting, call the meeting to order, announce that there is a quorum present. And at this time, if you would join me for a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for bringing us all together here tonight to do the work for the city of Clyde. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity that each and every one of these members provide, that we can serve our community. Lord, I thank you for our people that are here today to speak. Lord, I pray that you will work with us and help us and guide us as we do all things that bring grace and remembrance of you, Lord. Lord, I thank you so much for your Son, Christ Jesus. And I thank you so much for the men and women fighting overseas and here at home who continue to give us the freedoms that we have every day, and especially the freedom to meet here in public as a community. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank you most for your Son, Christ Jesus, who died for each and every one of us. Thank you, Lord, and it's in his name I pray. Amen. If you'd join us for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you very much. You may be seated. All right, at this time, we have 4.0. This is council announcements and comments. Council have anything they'd like to share with each other or the community? Oh, if not, I do. I have a couple of things. One, if y'all will remember Miss Rutherford, Jeannie Rutherford, her brother was Michael C. Murphy, who was killed in 2009 overseas serving our country. And for a few years there, we ran a 5K in his honor. For the last couple of years, COVID's affected a lot of things, and we haven't done that. This year, we will be doing that again. That date, just for everybody's information, is September 10th. It will be an evening run. Registration will be at 6 p.m. The run will be at 7 p.m. So, again, that will be in honor of Sergeant Michael C. Murphy, who died serving this country of ours. So, thank y'all very much for that. Another thing, in case anybody, y'all probably don't get this, but if you'd like to have a copy of it, I think we put it on our Facebook page. This is Texas Town and City. It's a magazine that goes out to all the cities, all of our councils, all the deals. And inside this is a great little article about our community. Clyde moves forward with our water infrastructure and modernization project. This is a great read. We appreciate the editors of Texas Town and Country who reached out to us for some of that information. And last but not least, if I could get Chief Dalton to join me up front. This is something he's not aware of, so it'll be a surprise. I want to read this to you. 1 second, it's kind of long, but this is a proclamation. This says, whereas our law enforcement agencies play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms which have been guaranteed by the Constitution to every American citizen, and whereas it is important that people throughout our country know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police departments, and that members of our law enforcement agencies recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the Congress, by joint resolution, designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of the federal, state, and municipal peace officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty. Now therefore, I, Roger Brown, Mayor of Clyde, Texas, do hereby call upon the citizens of Clyde and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 9th through 13th, 2022 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to the community and, in doing so, have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and securities of all citizens. I further call upon the people of our community to observe Sunday, May 15th, 2022, as Police Officer Memorial Day, in honor of those peace officers who, throughout their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty. Proclaimed this 10th day of May, 2022. Chief. Thank you very much for everything you guys are doing. Okay, that is all I have as council speaking. Does any other council like to add or say anything? I will say one more thing. I said that was all I had, but I will say one more thing. We are trying at this time a new system and setup. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Thank you, Nan, our public information officer back there. We now have a YouTube channel for the city of Clyde, and at this time, I believe everything is going out live. So I'm getting shakes from the head back there. They're watching it. So y'all share that with your friends. When you're not able to make a meeting, you can still see it live as we try our best to take care of our citizens. If council doesn't have anything else, we will move on to the public comments and receipt of petition. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. No council, board discussion, or action may take place on a matter until such matter has been placed on an agenda and posted in accordance with the law. I do have 3 blue cards here that shows me that we have citizens who would like to speak. And as I have these in this order, first is Miss Cindy Huff.
She's on the agenda to speak.
I know, but she also filled this out. Do you want to say anything right now?
Oh, wait. I
Okay,
have 5
all right,
minutes.
no, that's fine, you're fine. I knew you were on the agenda, I just had the card too, so. Okay, next up, the next one I got was for Miss Camilla White. Miss White, if you will step to the podium, again, say your name and your address for Miss Connie to be able to take that down for our records, and your 3 minutes starts now. Go ahead.
Okay. It's Camilla White, 525 South First Street West. I just wanted to just make some comments. I hear everybody wants to plan to make everything big, put in this sports complex and stuff. I mean, I moved out here when I was reassigned to Dyess Air Force Base to be away from big town. I like the small city atmosphere and not the, so big that we're like Abilene. Not really, I think a lot of people may feel the same way, that because I'm seeing people or hearing from other people in the community that they're moving out because everybody's trying to make a big show out of Clyde, make it bigger. And personally, I'm for stuff for the citizens, but as far as trying to make it bigger, Metroplex, whatever, I don't feel that way about it. I'd rather stay within a small group and not so big. And I don't know if y'all have any plans for the Chamber of Commerce. I guess the phone was disconnected, so I'm not understanding how we can get a hold of someone for the citywide. But I'm assuming it's the way that it's saying you can't get a hold of anyone and you're being referred to talk to the city, to the Commerce, and the Commerce's phone is no longer working. So I don't know how we're supposed to get a hold of somebody for that event. A friend of mine's been trying, and that was her problem, is that she could not get through. So like I say, I've been here 20 years. I've enjoyed the town. Everything's been nice, and like I say, I know we need the upgrades. I appreciate that the water, well, you remember, I've addressed all that about the water overflow with the 3 inches of rain. I'll be glad when everything gets finished where that's solved, and hopefully the ditches are coming along. I could only get so much done down 18. TxDOT finally did at least to Clyde one stop, and that's as far as I could get them to go. I asked them, and they said that they'd work with y'all, and that was as much as they were required to address at the moment. So, I mean, I'll do what I can, and I can help where I can, and like I say, whatever we can do to make things easier on the citizens. I know I'm not the only one that gets flooded or other problems or sewer backup, so, but I appreciate your time. I won't go over.
Thank you, Ms. White. Thank you very much for that. Next up, I have Mr. Lee Oliver. Mr. Oliver, same thing. If you will just join us up front here, restate your name, your address for Ms. Thornton to be able to put in our records, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Or Lee, you can wait till the public hearing. The public hearing is on the annexation if you want to wait.
Okay.
You can do either way.
That's fine.
You're
You
fine.
needed to fill that out anyway.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Would certainly understand. No problem there. That is all the cards I have. Now, even though that's all the cards I have, is there anyone out here who would like to stand up and speak? Again, all you need to do is come down front, state your name and address, and we'll hear you. Okay, if not, I thank you. I thank everyone that has been here and said anything. And I will, at this time, close the public comments section. We'll move on to 6.0. This is the consent agenda. Council's had an opportunity to look over minutes from last month. Does anyone have anything they need to pull off or discuss that? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda as it is.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as is.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Coffin, seconded by Councilman McGuire, to approve the minutes from last regular meeting. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to 7.0. This is our public hearing. This is in regards to annexation. Notice of public hearing on property located at being 30.468 acres out of the southeast quarter of Section 65, BBB and CRR Company Lands, Abstract 86, Callahan County, Texas. Request is for an annexation into the city limits of Clyde, Texas, Callahan County. The public hearing will be held now. So, any interested parties may appear and be heard. So this is over the annexation, and y'all are more than welcome to step up and see. Mr. McGuire, did you need anything to address before? Nope.
No, if there's questions that arise.
Okay, very good. Then, Ms. Please, this is y'all's opportunity here.
I'm Cindy Huff. I live at 607 Pleasant Lane. And we put together these boards. I think that pictures probably explain better than just looking at a map.
No, thank you for that. That's very good.
So I'll start, I wish y'all could all see them too. So this is where we are. Pleasant Lane, part of it was cut off, and Scott Place is here. And this is Mr. Necessary's land. Scott Place runs all the way through here, and we have an actual picture that the berm that is there at the end of Scott Place, it has been, they've gone through it. And this is looking west at the Necessary's land, and then go on the other side of the berm, and this is looking out. So you can actually see that the street, that Scott Place, is higher than the berm. Their land sits a little bit lower. If you go to Pleasant Lane, this is all the way to the end of Pleasant Lane. And this house right here, this is Daniel Smith's house, and he's a pretty old man. But this is looking from Pleasant Lane up the berm that's there at the end of our street. This is going onto the berm, and you can see that it's slanted down, and then as you go onto the berm more, you can barely see Mr. Smith's rooftop right there. If you go just a little further down the berm, you can't even see Mr. Smith's house. This berm is very, very tall, and this is actually what is keeping the water that flows from over here. It comes across. It's coming across like this. And this berm is keeping the water from flooding Pleasant Lane. So, if that is taken out, then people who haven't actually had problems with flooding, they're going to have problems with flooding. It's gonna come down the street with pavement and concrete and houses, and it's gonna come down Pleasant Lane. This is my neighbor right here. This is Barbara and Ronnie Kelly, their house. They've had problems with flooding, and he went and he had this footer put in because the house was flooding. It couldn't handle the water coming down Pleasant Lane. There's 5 houses. Miss Anderson, she's here, my house, the Kellys, and the Grahams and the Olivers. And we take the brunt of all of that water that comes down Pleasant Lane. We actually have ditches that are dug into the front of our homes. So the water comes across the street at the Keith's house. It comes across to my house, it goes down. My house is right here. The city has, I talked with Connie, and I was talking with you about getting onto the agenda. All of a sudden, it became very important that there was work done on the street. So the city came in, Jerry came in, and he dug out all the culverts here. And then he went behind Mr. John Pasick's house and Jerry Anderson and Susan Anderson's house, and they dug this out. But you see, all of this, here, all of this is sand. So it's gonna be the same problem, no matter where it is. It's all sand. But they dug this, and now Mr. Anderson, he's gonna have problems with water flowing into his yard. So this is all just overgrowth. This is when you're looking up from behind John's house, and then this is looking down. 4 minutes, okay. So.
You have time. You're not restricted to time while we're doing this. This is a public meeting. You can take as long as you need.
Okay, so, having said that, that is, John's neighbor Doris, her land is here, and you can see how tall that is. This wasn't here. This very well may handle the rain that we have on just a routine basis, Connie, and I appreciate everything that you've done. You've always been responsive, and I do appreciate that. But this isn't gonna handle for a housing addition to be built. The berm is gone, there's more pavement, there's cement. It's gonna come down Pleasant Lane, and it is going to flood our homes. These are our homes.
And is it an opportunity, are you in a spot where I can ask some questions?
Go ahead,
Okay. So everything that you're talking about here currently, we're dealing with whether or not to annex that property of the necessaries into the city, where the city can do something. Currently, we can't do anything about that property. Yet the necessaries can build anything they want on that property. Currently, if they decide to build, take that berm down, do anything they want to do while it's out in the county, because it's has nothing to do with the city, you're gonna have those problems. You're gonna get that flooding. What I'm saying is, restricting the city from annexing that in actually ties the city's hands of helping in any way. Now, I don't know, because I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how the best that this works, but in my brain, what I see is that if we bring that annexation, if we bring that land in there, the worst thing it does is it opens up Pleasant Lane all the way into there. And I don't know what their plan is as far as going in and turning and bringing Scott Place out. I don't know that. I don't know. But if that is inside the city limits, now you're able to hold the city accountable for that flooding. Now, I'm not saying financially accountable, that's not the issue. I'm saying that you say that concrete and asphalt and curbs will make it flood more. What I think, again, not an engineer and I don't live there, I do deal with flooding because as you showed on that map, I live on Warren Avenue and I get flooded over there. So I do know what you're talking about. But with us being able to like, the little bit that's done right here in front of y'all's houses now is because that was brought to our attention. That was brought up. It needs to be done. We have a plan in place where we are working on our drainage system. It's something that Clyde has been very bad about for a long time. It's something that we are currently working on and we hope to get better. In y'all's area, we're able to do this right now. Again, it helps a little bit, but you're right. It doesn't stop anything that the necessaries are doing or building currently. And if they do that and they take that whole berm down and they build up high and you're low, they're in the county, you're in the city, and you're gonna get flooded from their property. And there's not a thing the city can do about it because it's county. And again, I'm only asking what your thought is, and I'm legitimately asking you this. You know, and your thought, what is your thought on, is it not possible that with the annexation, us being able to now route this better because of what's been going on in the county, which we can't touch, to now being able to, I don't wanna say deviate, that's the wrong word, but kind of direct how this flooding and how this flow goes, whether it's down Scott Place or it's down Pleasant Lane or it's down a ditch, you know, like this is here that is gonna be ineffective currently. But if the city has that in annexed, is it possible that we're able to do a better job of this, which then alleviates the flooding y'all currently, have to go through? Again, I'll stop now and see if any of that,
Roger?
yes.
If I had faith that that was going to be taken care of, as I said, whenever I contacted Connie 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
then it was important to go and clean out all of the culverts on our street.
So why do you not have faith now?
Because
of our past?
Because of the past.
We're not in our past. We are moving forward. We are dealing with our future. If you haven't, not you individually, but you as a community, if you have not yet been able to see the steps that we are taking moving forward, I don't blame you for not having confidence in the councils of the past or in the direction that the city has taken in the past. I have no problem with that. Again, I live in a flood zone. I've had those problems. I get it. I understand. But I'm asking you and all the citizens to understand, look at the work we are doing. Look at the work this council is doing, this administration is doing. It is changing those things. It is changing the past. But all that said, it's just words, right? It's just words. They don't mean anything until you see the action.
Absolutely.
So I can only beg you to bear with us as we make this right, as we fix the problem that you're concerned about. I just don't think that leaving it in the county solves your problem. Matter of fact, your concern right now seems to be that if we annex this into the city, your problem will get worse because it's annexed. I don't see that at all. I see your problem getting worse by leaving it in the county because we have no control over it then. So,
So ma'am, we've adopted the building
okay,
code.
yes, and Chris, hold on. I will get to both y'all. I've seen both y'all. I will let y'all speak. That is, it is open, it is public. We will let you speak.
So ma'am, we've adopted the international building codes. And if the necessaries plan on doing any construction on that property, and if that's their intent is to build up some houses on that, it'll go through the city engineer, just like Kevin Hagan's addition has gone through the city engineer. And Ken Martin at Jacob and Martin Engineering will help us figure out if retention ponds have to be put on the property. All that'll be calculated in. Plus, anything that gets built on there will be built to the new Clyde subdivision standard. So the widths of the streets, the size of the homes, all of that'll be factored in. So as the mayor was saying, leaving it the way that it is, and if those berms are open and it's his property and he can open the berms, we have zero control over it. If it comes into the city, we have complete oversight of the project, and everything has to be done to code, has to be done to the engineering standards that Jacob and Martin will put down, just like he helped us figure out all the engineering that had to go on in Kevin Hagen's subdivision, just like he's done with Jared Yates and his subdivision going off of 604, just like he did with Jared and Blake Howard in the Legacy subdivision. All that is done to the standard and to the codes. And you're absolutely right, and this is the issue and the biggest challenge that we face as a city, is we're trying to solve 100 years worth of bad civil engineering. And we're making strides the best way that we can, but it's almost impossible the way the city was laid out with bar ditches and no sanitary sewers, or the sanitary sewers lacking and no stormwater collection. So as we started laying down all this infrastructure projects, we're solving each one of these issues as we go along. And this, if it comes into the city, would give us an opportunity to have another neighborhood built directly to the standard. The other thing that does for all the homeowners on Pleasant Lane in that area is it's going to ensure that there's no impact to your property values, because we're going to build this to code, we're going to build this to standard. Your property values will actually increase. And that's the tack that we're taking with everything that we're doing in the city. It's deliberate development. And that's the reason that when everybody comes in to talk to us, we have those conversations about the subdivision ordinance, about the standards. Everybody that is trying to build here right now, it's turning into a learning curve from them. And these are experienced builders, and they're being denied, and their plans reviews are coming back, and they have to go back to the drawing board because they're not meeting code. They're so used to building to a certain standard, and now they're being held to the 2020 version of the building code. So
we do have an engineer, Chris, that overlooks.
we do.
That does overlook?
Yes, Ken
Because
Martin from Jacob and Martin is our city engineer.
Okay.
And his engineering stamp goes on every single one of these subdivision plans. And he has to okay it, because we have to ensure, and he has to ensure as a professional engineer, if he's stamping the project, that it's gonna meet all the Texas requirements and withstand. The last thing we wanna do, knowing that we have water issues in the city, is add something that's gonna compound problems that we already have. And as the mayor said, that property stands alone as it is right now in the county. We have zero control. The necessaries own that property. You can't landlock anybody by state law, so they can take the berm down on Pleasant Lane.
It's not landlocked. There's an access on
Well,
Scott Place
look,
also.
but-
And then Hawk Lane too. I
Right.
spoke with Mr. Paul Burns, and they've actually been accessing their homes from his property.
But his property line runs the length and it touches Pleasant Lane. So if he decides as the property owner that he's gonna take that berm down, and we can't landlock somebody on a city street, he has access on Pleasant Lane into his property, and those berms come down, we compound the problem, and we have no recourse to address anything with the necessaries. This comes into the city, they have to come in with plans. All their plans have to go through Bureau Veritas, is the company that the city hired to manage all our inspections and our plan reviews, complete third-party inspections. They have to build a standard, and then they get 15 different inspections every step of the process through the building. So for the first time ever in the city of Clyde, we're holding people to plumbing standards, we're holding people to electrical standards, framing standards. Every single piece is done, and the inspections have to pass before the city will grant a certificate of occupancy for anybody to move in. Curb and gutter is part of the subdivision ordinance. So when Ken does the engineering on that, those roads will be configured not to push water into existing neighborhoods, but to channel water and into retention ponds, just like every of the new subdivisions that are being built around here have that to take care of the stormwater overflows. So, I know that obviously everybody has concerns, and you're right to have concerns, because quite honestly, our track record over the last 50 to 100 years hasn't been that good, but there's never been standards in place before. you know, the analogy that I use with everybody is you don't turn an aircraft carrier on a dime. This is a big wide arc of all the things that we're trying to do to change this city. But I think the processes that we've put in place and the measures that hold everybody accountable, it holds us just accountable as a city, as it does the builders, as it does the engineers. Because ultimately, by us not having city employees be able to rubber stamp something and having the outside party do it, that accountability, and that was very important when Terry and I took to council about why we wanted to do building codes, that I wasn't sold that we needed to do it internally. And I think by having that third-party measure where it's independent and we can influence the process, I think that serves the citizens the best. And, you know, that's, you know, I don't know if that makes anybody feel any different about this, but that is truly the facts, that we will have mechanisms in place to ensure.
And I'm also concerned about if that should open down at the end of the street. We already have a problem with people coming up the street and they speed back down. And years ago, I'd already been to council, and that's when we got the signs. We couldn't get a speed limit sign, but we got the slow children at play sign. If that opens up to houses down there, I mean, it's just part of living at the end of the street. People just speed, and we have children. There's pets running around on our street, all of it.
Understand, and each one of us in our own streets and neighborhoods have that same exact problem. Speeding is something we take up with the police department, not necessarily the city. And you already have that situation, that's what you're telling me, you already have it. We need to fix that now. Putting in a new housing just doesn't guarantee that that gets worse or gets better. Maybe it gets better because now people live down there instead of people going down that road, realizing that that's not a thoroughfare, turning around and racing back up your street. Now, I don't know if that's how it happens.
We
or
have
not.
a no outlet
and-
sign at
but-
the end of
and
the street,
I-
and people still come down the street.
And Warren
and
Avenue
they-
is 35 miles an hour and they run 60. I know, and I get it. Real quick, I have two other people that'd like to speak. Yes, sir. Gentlemen, if you'll stand up.
Well, he just answered most of my questions, but it's the fact that Cityans doesn't have an engineering department, so we're going to an independent firm, right? And they're certified engineers to Texas code and
Yes,
everything.
yes, sir.
So they should be able to, with topo maps and survey maps, they should know how much higher. I don't know, I don't know where, you got a map, 7.1 where this is?
It's the land right over there, sir, on that photo.
And you can look over here. She's got a very good photo graphs in there. And real quick, could I get your name, sir?
John Pasick,
John Patrick.
508 Pleasant Lane.
That's where we are.
So as you can see,
But
Yeah.
this area right in here.
that is
will
the
they
area
be able
that
to
they
survey?
bought.
Excuse me, Roger, go ahead.
No, I'm just, the area that you're pointing at, that is the land that the necessaries have purchased and is currently outside of the city limits.
And, okay, you're trying to annex that.
They would like to have it annexed so that they could get city services, city water, sewer, and that. And rightfully so, Ms. Huff and other neighbors that live there on Pleasant Lane have, you know, valid concerns about what will happen once that area gets turned in. Like right now where you see the entire, just that dirt area, if the necessaries decide to build that into an entire housing division, the concern currently is what will that do to Pleasant Lane? And our point being that they can do that anyway and the city has no control over it because that's in the county.
30.4 acres, is that all this in here, or just this right up, just?
I believe that's the majority of that deal.
Do you
Mr.
know?
Necessary,
Do you know how much acreage that includes?
30.48 acres comes all the way around.
So it is basically all of that.
Except for 1.945 acres, it's already in the city limits.
Okay, all right. So yes, sir, Mr. Patrick, it is the majority of that bare spot that you're seeing that looks like a C right there.
That horseshoe.
Yeah.
So there's approximately, what, room for 100 homes in there?
That would depend on what they built,
Well, it
what
would
size.
depend on what, so if anybody was gonna come in to propose building a home, it would have to be to the subdivision ordinance standard, and it would have to come into the zoning, and the Planning and Zoning Commission would have public hearings on that about the size of the homes, the number of lots that would be platted, and there's multiple public hearings that go through that phase.
So you really don't know what a developer will do with this land yet? Is that
We
what
don't,
you're
but
saying?
we are able to,
We are able to control the process.
yeah, he can't just come in and build anything they want because we have put standards
If
in
you
place to
annex-
prevent that.
If the city of Clyde annexes this land,
Yes, sir.
then you have control over,
The whole
Yes.
entire process, we have control through the planning
I'm
and zoning.
sorry, I just.
No,
maybe I
you're
missed
fine,
something.
you're fine, and asking questions, I thank y'all, everybody, so much for coming and asking questions, because this is the only way we get things figured out and worked out, so thank you, and you're doing great. Again, right now, that is in the county, and the city, this council, this staff, has no control over what the necessaries, that's their name, the people that bought it, have no control over what they do to that property.
They could come in and put 50 or 60 mobile homes with septic tanks on there, and then what's gonna happen?
Literally, they could put a trash dump
That's
there
what
if they
the county
wanted
can
to.
do, is what you're saying.
That's what they're saying, is if it stays in the county, we have zero control over the process. By them coming to the city and asking to
How
be,
would the county get water and electricity? Well, electricity wouldn't be able.
and the water, would-
Sewer.
They could use wells.
they could use wells,
They wouldn't have city
they
water,
wouldn't have
that's the
city
thing.
water, they'd get Callahan County water,
They
which
could
would be
have Callahan or
sold.
Eula, which comes
Comes
from
We
from
us.
sell to them, but
We
it
sell the
wouldn't come
water
from
to them.
us.
Okay,
No,
but
It
come
would-
from them,
yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Brown, what I'm really interested in is.
Yes, sir.
If, I'm sorry, if Pleasant Lane is the only access to this acreage, Pleasant Lane isn't even a one-lane road, or,
Yeah, you're correct.
and it's blacktop, and Cold Patch isn't helping any. I mean, they try to fix the potholes, but that Cold Patch doesn't hold up.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just wondering, if you add 50 homes to that,
That's a
you
lot of
got
traffic on
100
Pleasant Lane.
cars every
Yes.
day, and it won't last.
So, sir, that gets back to the ordinance and the subdivision standards. So I don't know what the necessaries are proposing. I don't believe it's 50 to 100 homes. But regardless of whatever the
If it's
proposal,
30 acres and a lot's a half an acre, that would be a big lot, so that's 60 homes
well,
right there.
and theoretically, yes, there could be that many homes, but that gets back to, before that process starts, they'd have to come in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. They'd have to have engineering, they'd have to have it platted, it'd have to be surveyed, there'd have to be topo. All those steps would have to be in place. And then ultimately, our city engineer gets involved, and then the project is engineered. So conceptually, it was 100 homes, then Jacob and Martins would look at that. They would look at what that impact would be based on soil analysis, based on water flows, based on the topo, based on everything. And then they'd come back and say, it doesn't support it in this configuration. You'd need X amount of retention ponds built into the facility. We'd have to put the roads in multiple points to come in and out of the thing. If there was gonna be a subdivision that was put in there with that many homes, Pleasant Lane would not be the only street that would come in and out of that subdivision.
Thank you.
There'd be multiple connection points. There would have to be, but that's where we rely on our city engineer.
And I'll ask you this, if they build one home, that creates more traffic on Pleasant Lane. I'll just give you that. And again, I go back to asking you to take on faith, something that we haven't given you reason to take yet. One of the other things that we have currently working on is our city streets and roads. Now, I know that for years, because I first started on council in 2006, and we wanted to fix roads back then, and we didn't get them done. The money wasn't there, the infrastructure design wasn't there, the ability to do it wasn't there. And we have taken the steps now to make that a possibility, along with what we're creating, along with what we're bringing in, will allow us to do that. We will be having a meeting coming up in June that the city will be able to understand and hear a bunch of things. But what I'm asking you is that we are now getting prepared to be able to do that road construction. So where, not just Pleasant Lane, but other roads, you know, our roads in the city, we'll be looking at how we can go about getting those done. So we have other divisions, other subdivisions coming in. The traffic that Clyde is gonna pick up, ladies and gentlemen, whether we want it or not, with the growth of Abilene and the businesses that Abilene has, Clyde will start seeing more people move into Clyde, like it or not. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen. It's literally closer to live in Clyde and work.
Can't grow west, I gotta go
Exactly.
east.
And it's closer to live in Clyde than it is to live on the south side of Abilene and work at, you know, the Caterpillar plant that's
Today.
coming, that's it. So all those things. So we, again, council and staff have put in place these, one, the ordinances that we're changing, two, the people that, the companies that we have now partnered with that allow us to control how that, so you don't have somebody just come in and throw together some hodgepodge house over here that halfway runs with sewer and halfway with septic. Nobody can do that any longer. Now, for years in Clyde, that's what we've been able to do. My dad was one of the worst ones over there where we lived. I apologize, but no longer is that the case. So I ask the citizens to bear with us as we move forward. You can look around the city of Clyde now and see that movement, that forward movement. Yes, I apologize that for years you guys have been overlooked. Other citizens have been overlooked. It hasn't been intentional, but it has not been accomplished by this council or this staff.
I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate, you know, your thoughts on improvements, especially, you know, what I've seen, we've seen over the history, but, one more quick stupid
Yes,
question.
go right ahead.
If the city annexes a certain territory, whatever, acreage, and does a builder come in and just start building? I mean, doesn't start building, but he comes and says, you know, here's our plans, and would you
So how the-
approve them, or?
So how the process would work is if the necessaries annex in and they decide in the future that there was gonna be some kind of build out, and either they build it themselves or they hire a builder, the builder would have to come in, sit down with Terry Davis and Community Development and initiate the process. You start pulling the permits, you come in with plans. The plans all get sent off to Bureau Veritas so that there's a detailed plan review on whatever's being proposed to be built. And then simultaneously, there's the actions in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And you come in to a number of public hearings and you have to present what you're gonna do, how the land is gonna be platted, whether they're gonna be quarter-acre lots, half-acre lots. Then that's where Planning and Zoning make sure that we're following all the ordinances. It comes back out of P&Z and it comes to City Council to approve a preliminary plat. And that platting process to get to an approval to
What
do.
if it doesn't get approved and the city says, these builders, no, get out, don't even come in again,
Then-
don't
Yeah,
knock
then
on my door?
they would have to find a different builder. They'd have to find somebody that was gonna build to the code, build to the standard. That's what happens when you're inside the city limits now, with all the new ordinances and with the building codes in place. We do have complete control of the process, where before we had no control. Nobody was pulling permits. You bought a piece of land, you built a house, you did whatever you wanted to do, and there was no oversight.
No inspectors,
No inspectors. This is a 15-step inspection process. I mean, from the time that they turn the first shovel of dirt, it's inspected. By the time they form the foundation, that's an inspection. The plumbing gets inspected as a rough-in. It gets inspected before they can pour the concrete. Then it gets inspected in framing.
Who's the inspector,
The company that we hired is called Bureau Veritas, and the inspector is.
They're licensed
They're
Texas.
licensed in the state of Texas.
They're out of Fort Worth. They're a big company, and this is all they do.
Okay.
All right, and then I had a lady right here. Mr. Patrick, thank you so very much for your question, sir. Yes, ma'am. And if I could get your name and address for record there.
Michelle Anderson at 531 Pleasant.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So you answered mainly my, one of my main questions was about the amount, the increase in traffic.
Yes,
Okay, and as you know, our street is very narrow.
very.
Our houses sit 15 foot from our front door to the street, approximately, maybe 20. So if we add in the city, was it 10-foot easement from like the road into the yard, the road would most likely need to be widened. So would y'all widen the road or something into the point where I walk out my front door, walk 10 steps and I'm standing at the road,
I
even
see
worse
ya.
than now?
I see what you're asking, yeah. Would you,
I mean,
would,
would
how
I
much
end up with
yard
no
would you
yard
lose
and-
in order to make your road wider?
Right, somebody swerve and boom, they're in my house.
No,
It's
so.
bad enough now when they speed down the road.
So as the mayor said, we are gonna hold a citizens town hall meeting. We're tentatively scheduled for June 3rd. And roads are gonna be the whole topic, roads and infrastructure. So there's 36.3 miles of roads in the city of Clyde that need to be repaved.
Oh,
And-
definitely.
And we've looked at every single part of that process. There's no way, the way the city was currently laid out before there was ordinances, and your neighborhood's a perfect example. The roads are too narrow, and there's no way to widen because we'd be out of easements and inside people's front yards, and that's not something we're gonna do. So as we figure out the engineering on the road construction itself, we'll engineer that so that the water flows the most efficient way into the bar ditches. In all the new construction, in all the new subdivisions, the roads
Will be at code and wider.
exactly, so that fire trucks and emergency apparatus can turn around inside neighborhoods. That, again, is the drawback and is the hardest thing to solve around here was all the poor civil engineering that was done. Nobody really put any thought into how the city grew and how the city was laid out. So, 100 years later, we're trying to re-engineer our way out of these massive problems.
We completely know the issue of no codes just with our house alone. So y'all would not plan on taking away even more of our yards to be
No.
able to widen?
No.
And would y'all be replacing, not just patching, but once you start getting all the heavy equipment in, things of that nature, the road's bad as it is, it's gonna tear up even more. Would y'all plan on actually replacing the road completely, or would y'all plan on just patching it in?
No, so, and I'll speak more about this when we have the town hall meeting.
Okay.
I've done the analysis on this. We're not gonna go for chip and seal coat, we're not gonna do things that are incremental and aren't solving the problem. We are gonna go with hot asphalt and we're gonna fix this once and for all.
And a thought that I had, because where we came from in Florida, we actually had curbs, kind of like Bryant has park curbs and stuff, as a way to handle the flooding, directing the water over to, a sewer system. Is something like that in play, of being able to put rather than just our tiny little ditch, because a ditch starts at my house, and it's not deep, it doesn't go far. In fact, we bought flood insurance in a no flood zone, because, what was it, 2-3 years ago, when it really rained and downtown here flooded? We actually had water starting to come in our front door, so we actually purchased flood insurance. But as a way to direct that water, because we're talking about a ditch that's like a foot deep, 9 times out of 10, 9 months out of 12 months, you don't have to use it at all here. But that 1 or 2 times, are y'all looking at something like that to be able to divert water?
We are, I just don't know that in every single neighborhood that we would be able to get to a curb and gutter system because of the layout of the city was so old and the streets are so narrow. In that, ideally, the curb and gutter solves the issue, and that's why curb and gutter is mandatory in all the new subdivisions, because you do exactly what you said. We redirect the flow to where the engineers want the water to go to overcome those challenges. we're looking at all those options. It's just extremely expensive. I mean, asphalt right now is $1 million a mile.
Right, I understand.
And there's, and on the back end of that, in the engineering that we're looking at, is at least another 9 to 10 million on top of the $36 million just to pave the streets, to try to fix the problems. So we're trying to come up with a number of courses of action, to have an open dialogue with the citizens, to get your input, to see which way you want to go. I mean, there's ways to solve the problem immediately. I don't know if anybody wants their taxes raised to do that. But there are ways, with all the new business processes we put in place and the efficiencies that we're gaining, that we can do a one-to-end list from the worst street to the best street, and then target those neighborhoods at a time.
Okay. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just gonna bring us back.
And one of the neighborhoods we just got grant money for, we're gonna do exactly that. As we put the new water and sewer in the ground and we break the ground to do it, we'll fix the streets coming behind us. So it's part of a broader master plan of what we're trying to do.
Okay.
It's just, there's a lot of issues that have to be solved.
I understand. All right, thank you.
Thank you so very much. Okay, I'm gonna bring us back to the annexation, what we're discussing. Ms. White, are you gonna discuss about that?
My only question is, I know you said y'all have started doing more or changed, that this isn't the same council. Now, hasn't Jacob and Martin been involved in?
They've been our engineers for quite a while, yes.
That's what I was gonna say, the name sounded familiar, that
Yes.
they've been involved with Clyde for
Yeah,
years.
to kind of answer what Mr. Patrick was asking about our engineers and whether or not we actually have engineers. We don't have an engineer on staff, somebody who's paid by the city of Clyde like this. Now, we pay a entity in Abilene, Jacobs and Martin Engineering. They are our engineers and have been for a bunch of years and do a great job for us, so.
So what's the difference is what I'm trying to get at. You say you brought these guys in to help with code and
Okay,
building
that's a
specs
different thing.
and-
Yes, that's
and
different.
I hear their name mentioned and it kinda.
Jacobs and Martin is our engineering department. That's who we use for engineering, and they do one set of job. Bureau Veritas is our inspectors. That's all they do. They are different. They're not the engineers. They're the people that come out. They're the ones that know the code, the national code that we've adopted, so that you can't just put anything you want in. I think Terry looking like he wants to
I can probably
speak.
answer that pretty quick.
Okay, well,
Yes, Jacobs and Martin has been the engineers for several years. So, in order to fix the problems that we're trying to get past is through codes, so before, when you came to build a house, you had a $15 building permit, you walk in, or $50 permit, you get your permit, you go build your house. That's not the way it works anymore. Since we've
nobody
started
looked at
this
it,
in
nobody
January-
saw it.
Yeah, since we've started this in January, it's hard for a builder right now to submit a plan to build a house and it pass.
Now, is that gonna include the streets or whatever they're putting in that other development over by the park then? Are they gonna make sure that?
They already have, they've already started.
They've got the
Yeah.
streets.
They've already had to go through this process.
The engineer has already gone over there and done the topos, they've already done all the mapping, we know where all the city services need to go. We're talking about roads and everything else over there right now. That's already all been done, that can't even, matter of fact, he's got a bunch of the dirt work done over there, but streets have not even started going in yet.
Okay, and I'm gonna stop us again and bring us back to the annexation. That's what our public hearing's on. Terry, you did a great job. Thank you for that. So, Ms. White, yes, you're asking about Jacobs and Martin. They are engineering. Bureau Veritas is our, code enforcement, for lack of, anything else. But now we're gonna come back to, does that help you at all as
Well,
far
I
as?
was just trying to figure out what's changed if they were involved previously, how
Okay,
that's
then-
changed.
then-
the-
then-
The coding and the permitting and everything that your
Yes.
ordinances that you're
Then
working on
add
now.
the Bureau Veritas. Add that.
Okay,
Don't look at just Jacobs and Martin and no code. Look at Jacobs and Martin Engineering plus the codes that we've now put in place, now that the council has adopted to prevent what has happened in the past, okay? So you have to add those two together and include those. So now, coming back to the annexation part of it. Ms. Hobb, we got off and sidetracked, and I apologize. So I know that this has been something that's been very concerning here. I want to bring it back to you, see if you have any other questions, comments, or thoughts on this.
I have a statement from Child Burgess
Yes.
on Sandy Lane.
Go ahead.
He wrote, "I'm an old man, 91 years old, and don't have a computer," so he handwrote it. "Regarding drainage problem, west end, south side of Sandy Lane, visit to previous city manager, no response. Several years ago, I hand dug a drainage ditch from the southwest corner of my lot, 125 Sandy Lane, to the street, northeast corner of my lot, a distance of about 350 feet. Last year, after a heavy rain, I had water running across my patio a foot above my yard level from my neighbor's yard to the west and from the field south of me." And that's the one that is between Pleasant and Sandy Lane.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
In my yard, in my neighbor's yard to the east, it was coming from the east too. We had a lake for 2 or 3 days. And then there was a fire, he says, after a fire that started in the field, the south field, and came across the way to my front yard. I've spent about $1,000 for dozer work to build a fire break and attempt unsuccessfully to stop flooding in my yard. So I don't want to, it's not only Pleasant Lane. That's one thing that is important for everybody to know. These people are our neighbors. They make up the fiber of our community. So I don't want to leave anybody out. I want them to be taken care of too.
I understand, and Mr. Burgess also wrote some other stuff that I read, and read some of the stuff that he had wrote too, and no child for a while, so, yeah, absolutely, and again, your concerns are valid. We are not saying they're not. We're saying the same thing to Mr. Burgess in Sandy Lane, the same situation. Without that inside the city limits, without annexing that, y'all's concerns, take them up with the county. And that's a cruddy way for me to say that, but there's absolutely nothing the city can do about it. So, and I apologize. I just want you to understand and believe when I say, if this is annexed in, it will be done properly. And I think that in certainly the nearer future than what it's taken in the past 30 years, you will see a better change for your area over there. Annexation at this point is the only way the city can help you. It really is. And unless you have another thought or an idea of how the city can fix that problem, I'm open to you, please.
I'm not an engineer.
I'm not either. I am not either. But I appreciate you so much as a citizen that you come up here and you have this passion. This is your home. This is where you live. This is where we have all lived for so long. We want this to be a better place. We're dealing with problems and issues that were created before us and are now left up to us to fix. And I have the utmost confidence in this council and this staff that it is getting done. I am so excited about what we are doing that it hurts whenever I can't get everybody to share that excitement, because for so long things haven't gone the way we wanted them to. And I'm one of those people who've lived here for a while and have seen what is the worst side of it. But I'm also on this side of it now, and I see what we're doing, and it's why I beg people to come to our council meetings, and I beg people to get involved and to listen and to understand and to ask questions of staff and of council, of people involved in what's being done, and not, and I'm gonna say it, and not social media. You have people out there who have no idea what's being done, and they like to just start trouble. So ask the people who know. That's what I beg of everybody here. Ask the people who know. But thank you so much for this. This right here is exceptional. I appreciate how much y'all have brought this forth and gave council and staff and anybody else that wants to look at this. I hope that you will leave this up somewhere in the back so that our other citizens can see what y'all done. Because this is great. This helps us help our citizens. So thank you very much.
And if any of y'all would like to come to Pleasant Lane, we will certainly.
Well, I think we have somebody here that lives fairly
Connie
close to
does.
that.
She lives
Yeah,
in the-
and the Keiths are very good friends of mine, and I understand. Been on that street, and again, Warren Avenue floods, thank you to the school. We're great partners with the school, but I flood now because of work that's been done outside of my control. So, anyway, thank y'all very much. I appreciate you so much.
Lee wanted to talk.
Lee, Mr. Oliver, I apologize. Yes, you had asked to speak. Would you like to say anything?
My concerns have been addressed.
Okay.
So at this time, I'd just like to say thank you to the city, Jerry, cleaning out my ditch. I know that's gonna help when we get that next big rain.
Yeah, when we get it, we're gonna get it.
So thank y'all for addressing that. I'd like to thank my neighbor Randall Graham. He's gone out and dug a ditch with a shovel, his full property, to help keep water off of me when we do get a rain.
Yeah.
So thank you, Randall. I appreciate your help.
So I have an open door policy, so at any time, any of you have any kind of concerns or questions, please feel free. I am here from 6:30 in the morning until 5:30 every single day. You don't have to make an appointment, you just come to City Hall, and I'll stop whatever I'm doing, and I'll sit down, and we can go over the engineering, we can go over plans reviews, we can go over anything. I operate in full transparency. Yes, sir?
And he is correct, and that goes for any of our council members. Chris is gonna be the best one to talk to. He's the one here every single day dealing with this. Next in line will probably be Miss Connie. She knows a lot about what's going on here. But beyond that, any one of these council members, if they don't have the answer, we will go get it for you, or we will direct you to the right place. But the bottom line is, we want to work with our citizens. We want to work with our community. When you show up, when Ms. Huff does this and tells us, hey, all of this is a problem, needs to be addressed, then we're able to help that. Ms. White, I know, hasn't always been satisfied with everything we've done, but she at least has come to many council meetings and said, hey, we're flooding down here on 18 and we have these ditches, and TxDOT said they would do this and they haven't done it, and what's the city gonna do? And the city has certain things we can and can't do because it belongs to TxDOT. But at least we've addressed their issues, we've reached out to try and find the right places. And again, when you bring to us the issues that you're dealing with in the community every day, that's when we can help fix that. Because if not, we're a group of people up here doing the best we can with what information we have. And if you don't give us the information, if you don't give us the problems you have, how can we solve those problems for you? So I apologize, I got on that little thing there. So again, would anybody else, we're still in the open meeting section of this. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Yes, Miss White.
How's that water plant coming along?
Okay, not anything like in general, anything regarding annexation. I should have been more clear, I apologize.
Oh, you said any
I
problems?
did,
One of our
you
problems
got me
is
there,
that
yes,
water
ma'am.
treatment and our flooding's
Yeah,
coming.
let me restate that.
Back up.
Any,
I will adjust that in my
Yeah.
city manager report.
Chris does have some stuff on that.
Next meeting?
No,
No,
it'll be
tonight.
later this meeting,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
So real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Regardless if they're annexed or not, the flooding issue, which is Ms. Huff's main concern, and ours as well, that is gonna be addressed one way or the other. Because you made the comment that if it's not, then we just have to deal with it. So my concern is, he was telling us that he's going to address it, but then you said that if they're annexed, that the city has control. So it definitely will be addressed.
Yes.
But that if they're not annexed, that you can't do anything.
The city
That's your
itself
comment.
will not be able to do anything on that.
So-
Now, let me maybe correct that a little bit. That doesn't mean that during our steps of upgrading our streets, upgrading our infrastructure, our sewer lines, all that stuff, it doesn't mean that Pleasant Lane would be overlooked in any way.
Okay.
Pleasant Lane will also be included in our comprehensive study of what streets, how, when, which ones go first as we do this. And again, there's more information coming out about that. So as we do that, Pleasant Lane wouldn't be left out of that process. It's just that anything that the Necessaries did with their property that they purchased that is in the county, we, the city, cannot control what they do while it's county property.
But you could control what happens to the city property based upon whatever they do on the county side.
Yeah, once
If it affects the city
once your
side,
house
you're
gets
going to-
flooded, but now let's say well, I won't even go into just say what ifs and what ifs. Yes, one way or another, we will be addressing streets, flooding, all of that. That is in our comprehensive.
It's what Jerry and his crew did coming over and starting to open up that. And his work is leading into even more work because as he started working through these alleys,
Seeing stuff,
he's,
yes.
you know, so that is gonna be an extensive project in the fall to get that open all the way out to 18. So Jerry does have a plan and I do have a plan. We talk on a daily basis about the challenges of infrastructure. Infrastructure is my number one priority. And it's for the 13 months I've been here, that is my focus every single day is infrastructure.
And that's what I just wanted to make sure is that the main issue is like the flooding and the roads and stuff are gonna be taken care of regardless, one way or the other.
Right.
That the issues will be taken care of.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else have questions or comments, thoughts, concerns?
I have thoughts whenever it's time.
It is still time. You may speak.
Okay. A while back, our school system taught our students The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Okay? I have a quote here from Mr. Covey, and we're now in the 30th anniversary of that book. You know, he has influenced a tremendous number of people. And Mr. Covey said, "The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created those problems." With this leadership in this administration of this city, we are coming up higher. Generationally, the Coveys, now we have this one of the sons, and the sons are very busy with the ongoing influence of the way we think and speaking to the faith issue and the history issue. Stephen M. R. Covey has written several books about the speed of trust. Trust makes things move faster. Dialogue like we're having tonight empowers us to trust each other. I am firmly convinced, you know how when you're cleaning out stuff, you come across papers. Some of them have meaning, some of them don't. This past week, I came across the notes that I made when council interviewed Mr. McGuire. And I'm going, oh yeah, oh yeah. And I'm reminding myself of the gift that Clyde received when Mr. McGuire stepped from the position that he had held for all of his career and accepted what council could offer him in the way of compensation for his efforts. And he came to us, and my goodness, people, we are not in the same season that we've been in my history of this community that began pretty much with my birth. And I lived 29 years in my grandmother's little homestead. At the end of Oak Street, when there was no Interstate 20, and my mama played baseball with the Tedford boys in the end of what would have been a cul-de-sac if we knew that a cul-de-sac was a thing. So this is where we are. We are on the cusp of health and improvement and benefit for generations. We have generations of people who love Clyde. And we want to foster health and wellness and growth among the generations of the people who actually, how many, I don't know, but I've heard several comments tonight from people who have lived outside of Clyde, who have moved in for the benefits of Clyde that existed pre this administration. And now this is gonna be better. Things are already better. There's a skill set that resides in our staff that we have right now that I believe far exceeds any skill set that we've ever had in the administration that's serving this community. We have servant leadership actively living and breathing in our community. And regardless of what your faith is, there are profoundly influential servant leaders in ancient history moving forward to the present day. And this council longs to serve the citizens of Clyde. Mr. McGuire wants to serve the citizens of Clyde, and there are some leaders who are worthy of followership. Does that make sense? I hope so. So if you've not ever read any of the Covey material, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Speed of Trust, I encourage you, pick up the Cliff Notes, if Cliff Notes are still a thing. Are those still a thing? I don't know if they are or not. But anyway, you can find a synopsis of these wonderful materials online. Pick them up, make them your own, and then come and pull together with us. And thank you for the dialogue. Thank you. It's good, it's healthy, it's fruitful. So anyway, I'm done.
No, you're great. Thank you, Councilman Kaufman. Appreciate that very much. All right, anyone else before I close out our public comment section on this? Okay, then 7.1, I will close our public hearing. We will move on to 8.0. This is our regular agenda. This is to consider with possible action adopting an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of City of Clyde, Texas combination tax and surplus revenue certificates of obligation, Series 2022, levying an annual ad valorem tax and providing for the security for and payment of said certificates of obligation, providing an effective date and enacting other provisions relating to the subject. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, Council, and citizens, we put a package forward for certificates of obligation. We sold those certificates on the open market today. We had a very successful sale. We allocated our funds in 5 minutes on the open market this morning, and we got very favorable terms. And this will allow us to do the police station and the Parks and Recreation and the sports park complex. Specialized Public Finance is here if you have any specific questions for them to be able to answer.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of, if you want to give us a little basic rundown. Again, I know there's a lot of citizens here that have a curiosity over, they hear a certain thing, they hear just the sports complex, or they hear the police station. I've even heard one thing this week over the ambulance, which is not actually part of the city that, anything the city's doing. However, what this does is give us an opportunity to share with our community how this is being funded, how this project is being funded versus what everybody seems to think your taxes are going up. It's not the case, so, yes, sir.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. Chris and Connie were very helpful through this process. Paul Jason with Specialized Public Finance. I've got a presentation here today to go over the certificates of obligation. Chris, thanks for that intro. It went very well today. It's been a tough market. It's been really a tough year in the markets. Raising capital rates have gone up quite a bit since January. Very pleased that we had the interest in this transaction. It was a sizable transaction, $15.5 million. The City of Clyde, due to its credit rating at A-, you qualified for insurance. So we not only priced the bond issue at an A-minus, you have a stable outlook, which is a very good rating for the city, the size of Clyde. A lot of that rating is distinguished by your economic base. There's only so much that you can do with your economic base. So that's why you're in the A category. But because of the growth potential in your finances, assured guarantee, provided insurance on the bonds, which allowed us to price it at a AA. We did pay a premium on that. These bonds have an interest rate of 4.27%. That's fixed for the life of the transaction. They're callable in 10 years, so after 10 years, you can prepay them or refund the debt. This is structured to assume a level INS tax rate. Also, pretty conservative growth assumptions in the tax base on probably what's coming in the next 5 to 10 years to the city of Clyde. And the certificates, the funds will be available on May 24th. That's when it is expected to close. Page 2 is just a summary of a lot of numbers here, but this assumes your current tax base, pretty conservative growth, around 5% for the next 4 or 5 years, and then 2.5% for about 10 years or so, and then pretty much 1% thereafter. We take into account your current debt. This debt structured to allow for a steady tax, INS tax rate of 40 cents to support this debt. The city is able to contribute some money from their INS fund balance to stabilize that tax rate. That's a positive as well. Page 3 is just the sources and uses. So the legal amount of debt is $14.35 million. The investor that bought these bonds wanted a premium, so investors paid the city $1.4 million in premium. Basically, they wanted a higher coupon rate than the prevailing market yield, and so they had to pay a reoffering premium to the city. At closing on the 24th, $15.5 million would be available to the city. This is net. This issue includes all the costs associated with the transaction as well. And then page 4 is what Chris and Connie got to see today. It was, again, a testament to the credit of the city. We were able to get multiple investors in this transaction. 4 banks participated, including your local bank, First Financial. They put in orders for about $3.5 million, so we appreciate that. And then 3 other banks, Commerce Bank, First Financial, I mentioned, Extraco and Southside. And then there were some other orders as well. So appreciate their interest in the city of Clyde. Also, there's an interest rate chart in here. We didn't hit it at the all-time lows. As you know, rates have gone up. But if you look at, at kind of a history here over the 10 years, we're still below average. So we're pretty much at the 10-year average for tax-exempt rates. Obviously, there's a lot of items brewing out there in the economy with everybody's hearing about inflation. Hopefully that's subsided, but these rates are set no matter what happens with inflation for the next 30 years. So this debt service will be set. So unless there's any questions by council or staff, we would recommend awarding the certificates to Samco Capital Markets.
One comment, not a question. I guess it's kind of a question. When I heard that how quick this went this morning and how well it was received, and that, these 4 banks and then these others that wanted to be involved in this, the one thing that kept coming to my mind was that this is a huge show of confidence of what we have, what we've set forth, what we have going on out there. So it's one of the things I wanted our community to understand is that when we decided to go this route and how we're doing this, it kind of proves that we're headed in the right direction. It shows that the people out there that are helping to invest in this and to make this happen, they have the confidence that what we're doing and how we're doing it is the right way to go. I guess I would ask to see if you have that confirmation, if you feel that way.
No, absolutely. They did their credit analysis. I mean, they know the growth potential. This is a 30-year issue. They expect you to pay your debt over the next 30 years. A lot can happen. So, I mean, that's a testament. I mean, if your credit wasn't where it was, you wouldn't have that kind of interest. It wouldn't have gone as smooth. I mean, we've had some tough pricings recently. This one, thankfully, was not one.
Yeah.
So, And investors are smart. A bank's not gonna lend you money unless they do their diligence.
And
so.
I don't know if y'all realize this, but 2 of the 4 banks, we have already, Southside, we already did stuff with them.
Sure.
On PD loans and stuff. And then, of course, First Financial, so we already have history with 2 of these banks.
All right.
Thank you.
Council have any questions for Mr. Jason? Thank you very much. Appreciate
it.
your
Thank
work.
you. Appreciate the opportunity to work with the city. Thank you.
Thank you for all the help.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, does council have any further comments, questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance as it supports council's goal of economic and community development for the city of Clyde.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Martin to approve the ordinance. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to 8.2. This is, okay, well, this is actually your agenda item, Ms. Huff. So 8.2 is discussion from Lucinda Huff concerning the annexation on the property located at being 30.468 acres out of southeast 1/4 of section 65 BBB and CRR Company, land abstract 86, Callahan County, Texas. At this time, if you have anything else, you are on the agenda, so you can speak. Okay, we covered it, okay. Then we will move on to 8.3. This is to consider with possible action approving the service agreement for annexation with Jacob and Brandy Necessary. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor and council and citizens, as part of any annexation that we do, citizens or property owners voluntarily annexing into the city, part of the benefit of being in the city limits is that you pick up city services. So this is a standard service agreement crafted by our city attorney, and this outlines that we will provide, if they're annexed into the city, if that's your wish to do, that we will provide them the municipal services. And we've already met with the necessaries. They understand the contract. They've read the contract, they've reviewed it, and they've pre-signed acknowledging that they'll accept what the city's offering as city services for their voluntary annexation, if that's what council chooses to do.
Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire or the necessaries? Okay, knowing council, we've had great discussion going into this, and we have seen the citizens' input. It's been very well, very happy that we've had that. Council has an opportunity now to either approve the service agreement or not. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the service agreement for annexation as it supports council's goal of economic and community development for the city of Clyde.
Make a motion, we approve the service agreement with the necessaries. Second.
Oh, I think Mr. Rector got you. I have a motion by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilman Rector, to approve the service agreement for annexation as it supports. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to 8.4, consider with possible action approving an ordinance annexing the herein described territory to the city of Clyde, Callahan County, Texas, extending the boundary limits of said city to include said property within said city limits, and granting to all the inhabitants of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding said inhabitants by all of the acts, ordinances, resolutions, and regulations of said city. Mr. McGuire.
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, this is the second step of an annexation process. I know it might seem counterintuitive that you approved a service agreement before you approved an annexation, but that is the state law of how the process works. So again, this supports your goals of community and economic development. This will give us control of the project so that if the necessaries do come into the city, anything that they propose to do on that land will be done to code, will be done to ordinance, and will be done with complete city oversight. So it's the staff's recommendation that this supports all the requirements and your wishes to grow the city economically and community development. So our recommendation as the staff is that you approve the annexation.
All right. Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire? Seeing no questions, council have any thoughts, comments, concerns? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance. A motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Martin to approve the ordinance as it supports council's goal of economic community development for the city of Clyde. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to 8.5. Consider with possible action adopting a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clyde authorizing and providing for the incurrence of indebtedness for the purpose of providing a portion of the cost of acquiring, constructing, enlarging, improving, and/or extending its water distribution system facility to serve an area lawfully within its jurisdiction to serve. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, and citizens, this is the final step of the process for the water pipeline from Lakeport Phantom. Last month, we did the ordinance for the grant piece of the water pipeline, and this is to take us to closing with USDA. So 190 to 120 days for USDA, who's financing the project, to get us to closing and all the paperwork necessary for Jacob and Martin Engineering to do the solicitation, the bid specs. We are anticipating a late fall awarding of the contract, and then construction to start the first quarter of FY23, but that'll be calendar year, November timeframe. And we have a 12 to 16 month timeline is the estimate for the project to be completed. We've attained the easements, we've made all the necessary changes in the pipeline where our water pipeline is going to cross gas pipelines. We've re-engineered to make sure that we came in complete compliance. So this is the last step of a very long 10-year process. And this will dovetail into the water pipeline, will be completed, and will be coming into the water treatment plant at the same time that the water treatment plant reconstruction is complete, and the water treatment plant can process 2 million gallons of water a day. So our recommendation is so that we can submit the paperwork to USDA tomorrow if you approve, so that we can get on their docket to get this expedited in the next 120 days or so, and put this out on the street and be constructing this pipeline by the fall.
Very good. Council, have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as it does allow for our pipeline project to proceed.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Rector, seconded by Councilman McGuire, to approve the resolution. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank y'all for that. Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, it has.
Moving on to 8.6, consider with possible action adopting a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clyde authorizing and providing for the incurrence of indebtedness for the purpose of providing a portion of the cost of acquiring, constructing, enlarging, improving, and/or extending its water distribution system facility to serve an area lawfully within its jurisdiction to serve. Mr. McGuire.
So, Mr. Mayor, council, and citizens, this is essentially the same process over again, but this resolution takes into effect that there's going to be $5,430,000 in grant money brought by the USDA to the project. So we're sizable amount that the federal government's given the city of Clyde at no cost to complete the pipeline project.
Council have any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns about this? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution.
I have a motion by Councilman Martin, seconded by Councilman White to approve the resolution as it allows for the pipeline project to proceed. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to 8.7. Consider with possible action approving a general warranty deed conveying to Citizens EMS, the land being 0.73 acres of land, being a portion of a 7.828 acre tract land out of the southwest part of BBB NC Railway Company Survey Number 66, abstract number 1494, Callahan County, Texas. Said 7.828 acre tract described in volume 166, page 190, official public records, Callahan County, Texas. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, this is the final piece of the real estate transaction for Citizens EMS and the new facility. As part of our deed conveyance to them for the 0.73 acres of land for the construction of their facility, they subsequently deeded over their existing facility to the city of Clyde. So this is council codifying that. Citizens EMS did close on their financing package today, and the construction of their facility is well underway.
Yes, and it looks great out there. Council have any thoughts, questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the deed conveyance.
Make a motion to approve the general warranty deed conveyance.
I have a motion by Councilman Rector, seconded by Councilman Martin, to approve the deed conveyance. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. 8.8, consider with possible action approving the updated ambulance facility availability agreement. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, City Council, citizens, as part of the agreement with Citizens EMS, they provide services to the City of Clyde, the City of Baird, and Callahan County. This codified our cost apportionment agreement based on call volume, and the City of Clyde having the largest call volume of Citizen EMS of the three entities. And that just puts into writing that based on call volume, that the city's cost is 2/3 of the agreement. And that's in line with what we're currently paying. So it's not that anybody's gonna see a price increase or anything like that. It's just codifying in writing that we've come to this cost apportionment agreement based on call volume and based on the demand for EMS, and the highest demand is here in the city of Clyde.
Council, have any questions for Mr. McGuire? Any thoughts? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the updated agreement.
Make a motion, we approve the updated agreement.
Second.
Oh, I heard your voice. I saw your hand, but I heard your voice. Have a motion by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilwoman Kaufman, to approve the updated agreement. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. 8.9, consider with possible action adopting a resolution supporting the Keep Texas Beautiful Incorporated organization in Clyde, Texas, and establishing a Keep Clyde Beautiful committee. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens of Clyde, this is an initiative that we started working on about a year ago. This will allow us to initiate a Keep Clyde Beautiful program that will be nested under the Keep Texas Beautiful program. What it'll allow us to do is compete for grants and then funding opportunities that the Keep Texas Beautiful program offers. We will establish a committee of citizens that want to be part of this. They will have regular meetings. We'll come up with project list, and then we will start the beautification projects across the city of Clyde. And I think that's something, the feedback that we've been getting from site selectors and people that are looking to invest here in Clyde is that one of the biggest asks of people that are coming into a city to look at is the site selectors are asking to come to your downtown area. And what their feedback to us is how the city maintains its downtown is a reflection of the pride that a city invests in itself, and if they're gonna locate a business here at Clyde, or they're gonna invest in the city of Clyde. These are the things that are important. And I know that it's important to all the citizens around here as well, that, you know, we have a great city, and we know that there's some things that we could do. So I think this supports everybody's efforts and gets to council's wishes of cleaning the city up and making it an attractive place to live and come do business.
Very good. Council have any questions or thoughts about this? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as it directly supports community and economic development efforts.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Rector. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. It's a great program and a great opportunity for our city. 8.10, this is to consider with possible action adopting an ordinance of the city of Clyde establishing the Keep Clyde Beautiful Commission, providing for the repeal of any ordinances or sections of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, and providing when this ordinance shall become effective. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, Council, and citizens, this is the second step of the process. This officially, if you pass this ordinance, this officially establishes the Keep Clyde Beautiful program. Nan has been working with me, and she's started soliciting citizens' input for board members that want to be part of this. So over the next month or so, we will establish a committee. We will put bylaws in place, and then by doing so, it opens us up to the grant funding opportunities that exist. And I think that we'll be successful as we are in all the other grants programs that we've applied for. We've been very successful, so I see no reason that we wouldn't be equally successful in accessing grant funding to make improvements around the city of Clyde. So our recommendation is that you support the ordinance.
All right. Council, have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none,
I
ma'am?
just have a comment of
Yes.
having gone out of state about a week and a half ago. As we drove from city to city and actually explored, I saw cities with new eyes. The way that cities, the most impressive one that I just couldn't get out of my mind was Los Alamos, New Mexico. The city complex, it was like, oh my goodness, the beauty of this facility was just very impressive. So I encourage you, as you travel during the summer, drive through downtown areas and bring ideas home with you, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're not as arid as New Mexico is, but we've been pretty arid lately. So it was just a magnificent, very enjoyable experience to just simply drive. I didn't even get out of the vehicle because it was hot and it was smoky, but it's lovely. And we have trees, guys. So many places in our area of West Texas don't have trees. And so we can maximize those benefits and be really proud to invite friends, family, back to the community, as well as I mentioned earlier, those who got here as quickly as they could. So.
Very good, thank you, Ms. Hopkins. All right, any other comments, questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Have a motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman McGuire to approve the ordinance as it directly supports community and economic development efforts. All those in favor? Passed unanimously, thank you very much. Moving on to 9.0, this is the city administrator report. Mr. McGuire, all yours, sir.
So, Mr. Mayor, Council, citizens, I just want to give you a quick update on where we're making progress on all the infrastructure work that's currently underway. The survey is currently ongoing, and we've reached out to the Railroad Commission for the final approval for the boring that we need to do underneath the railroad to replace the 2,000 linear feet of collapsing clay sewer lines. We've already started the reconstruction of the sanitary sewer main as part of that. And we have just passed the 50% design threshold and the approval from TCEQ for the water treatment plant rebuild. So we're right on track for that. And that project will be complete early next summer, we will be about up to 2 million gallons a day of water capacity at a brand-new facility that will have membrane filtering systems, which are the state-of-the-art technology. So we will have a vast improvement in water quality, and we'll have the additional ability to generate an extra 1 million gallons of water a day. The in-house trash service project is moving along just as on schedule as we had planned. All the roll-off containers have been delivered. The poly carts are due to be delivered at the end of the month. The roll-off trash truck has already arrived, and the other 2 trash trucks will arrive sometime later this month or the first week of June. So that'll give Jerry and the Public Works crew time over the next 2 months after that to do a route transition. They've already come up with route schedules, and then we'll do a handoff exit out of Republic to us taking over the trash service ourselves. I know that we're all excited about that, and we know that once we're doing it, that the trash service will be greatly improved. As part of the water upgrades and as part of stormwater intrusion, the SCADA systems that are the controlling components of the lift stations and pump stations and the water treatment plant and sewer treatment plant have all been completely redone. So we're on brand new state-of-the-art SCADA system. That installation is 100% complete. The solar PV array for the water plant, the designs have been approved, the materials have been released, and we are going to start in early June on the solar PV array, which will completely power the power needs for the water treatment plant. And with the design that's come back, we're actually going to have excess power generation, so we've already reached out to AEP and TXU to be able to sell back the excess energy to the grid. So our profit margin on that is actually going to increase. The original design was just to power the plant, but now that the designs have been approved and the efficiency of the panels is much greater than we thought it was, we'll actually make a return on that investment as well. So that's good news. The water meters, the advanced AMI infrastructure is in place. All the antenna connections in place around the city on the water towers so that the smart meters transmit. That's been tested, they work. The meters have arrived. They're all in storage, and we're waiting for some various valve assemblies and some piping to come in. The contractor that is going to do the whole meter install is mobilizing. So we will start a very deliberate messaging campaign here in the beginning of June. They will be putting door knockers on every citizen's house, and they will be providing an education meeting so that you can learn how your computer interface works. So these smart meters will give every single one of you citizens the ability to see in real time. It's a 2-hour lag between your meter reading and what shows up on your computer, but you'll see in near real time your water usage, your consumption. You'll be able to dial up, dial back your usage. You can set parameters so that you don't have unexpected water bills, and then you'll have real-time data. And it gives the leak intrusion so that you'll know if you're away, you'll get a text message that you're getting water usage in your house when you know that you're not there, and it'll give us the ability to be proactive and stop excess water use and stop any kind of water damage. So very, very excited about that. And that process will take about 2.5 months for them once they start putting the meters in the ground to complete that. The LED lighting install, they came to the city in the past 2 weeks, and we are at 95% of the city facilities have been changed over to the smart LED lighting. There are a few fixtures that, because of supply chain issues, haven't come in, so the company will be back in July when they receive the last few components. And we'll see significant energy savings just on the LED, and that's all guaranteed into the guaranteed energy savings. So we'll start to see real marked decline in our energy bills. The manhole, which gets to the inflow and intrusion that causes problems throughout the city when there's stormwater, part of the aging infrastructure, the problem has been that all the stormwater fills into the sanitary sewer system, And what we wind up doing is every time it rains, we're double treating what's going into the sewer is not water that should be in the sewer system, and we wind up spending twice as much money and cutting down on the end service life of the sewer treatment plant. So that process has already started. All 198 manholes in the city of Clyde will be completely refurbished, and there's some additional manholes that will be added. And they expect to be done by the end of July. They are mobile, and they've been in here like gangbusters. They're starting at like 7 o'clock every morning, and it's a very impressive process how they epoxy coat the existing manholes and they raise the grade. So we're excited when we finally get some rain to see how we've diverted that water out of the sanitary sewer system. The Public Works facility is under construction. It's vertical. They're gonna start installing the roof system tomorrow. The interior framing has already started over the past week, so anybody that's driving down Stevens Street, you see the amount of processes going on for that. So we're still on track, and we're looking at August completion, and then the Public Works people can transition into the building. And that's it.
That's
And then, outside of our project, but the project that we assisted Citizens EMS on, their EMS facility, is well under construction, and they're anticipating another 60 days, and Citizens EMS will be in the facility. And then as part of the accepting the bond sale today is the police station, and we've already started the grading. The sewer and water lines are in. Gas is into the project, power's into the project. There's a little more grading and fill material that Public Works will bring in. And that project will start the first week of July. And police department will be in the new police station in mid-August.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. I appreciate all the staff's hard work. I hope the citizens in the community have an opportunity now to see kind of some of the things that we're doing and that we're working on up here. I hope that goes over well. Council, you had an opportunity to look at your financial statements. Anything you want to discuss on financial statements? All right, seeing that there's no call for an executive session this month, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
A motion by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilman Martin to adjourn. All those in favor? Get out of here then. Again, citizens, thank y'all so very much for being here. And Ms. Hoff, I do thank you. I mean, I cannot thank you